go into a couple more questions. I think Senator Cantwell's on her way, and she wants to also have the opportunity to engage. So I'm going to broaden the aperture here a little bit, Admiral, beyond Alaska. I want to get a sense of how Force Design 2028 is progressing. I want to compliment you and Secretary Nome and the Coast Guard leadership for laying out a vision. It's a really good document. I've read it. It's got a lot of big, ambitious goals. I think you're on the right path, but can you give just a quick update in how you are seeing the work of Force Design 2028 and what's the next phase of Force Design 2028 that you're focused on?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have been moving at speed to implement the Secretary's direction to transform the Coast Guard through Force Design 2028. In fact, the Secretary just released on the 15th of January the interim update, progress update, which is now posted on our website and is publicly available and gives an outstanding summary and some detail on where we're going.
And I'm assuming the budget reconciliation, $25 billion investment will help supercharge and have you guys be able to achieve the goals, the ambitious goals that you put out in 2028 Force Design.
Budget reconciliation does exactly that, and supercharge is exactly the right word, Mr. Chairman. It is what is fueling the success of Force Design 2028. And so we've been able to do the 4 primary campaigns, enabling campaigns, which is streamlining our decision-making, streamlining our organization to remove consensus-based decision-making from the headquarters to move faster, delegate authority lower in the organization, closer to the front lines, and move people closer to the front lines to be able to streamline and create an acquisition and contracting superhighway, and then bring technology to bear to make the Coast Guard a leader, not a follower, in the federal government on adopting and applying technology.
Good.
That supports our 3 enabling or outcome tables: control, secure, and defend the border, facilitate commerce, and respond to crisis. Those outcome tables, our mission delivery, is part of Force Design. That's also what makes this unique. We have found that for the investment the American people make in the Coast Guard, we provide a 6 times return. So for about a $12 billion 2025 investment in the Coast Guard, it's an over $70 billion return on investment in lives saved, property protected, border protected. And so that's all part of the Force Design effort. But what we require to be successful is that continued top line growth in our annual appropriations. Mr. Chairman, we're a $20 billion organization that is still only funded at about the $14 billion level. And so that will be an important part of our success in Force Design 2028.
And how about on the recruiting side? My ranking member here mentioned that, but you know, there's a big goal of growing the force, and how do you see that going?
Mr. Chairman, it's going very well, and we're going to need to build on that success to keep moving forward and grow the workforce to meet the intent of growing it by 15,000 by the end of 2028, which was the Secretary's goal and direction in Force Design 2028. But we've also hit it from the retention side. We've seen improved retention in our military workforce. We need to do more work to improve our civilian retention because they're a critical part of our workforce as well. But that's all part of building a strong workforce and getting and keeping the best talent, because our people are our greatest treasure.
Great. Let me switch gears to another topic you and I have talked about. Senator Cantwell's here now. I know she cares about this topic as well. And that's the enforcement as it relates to IUU fishing. That's illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing. I was proud to work with all my colleagues, but Senator Whitehouse in particular. We had my Fish Act legislation, which passed this committee, then passed the whole Senate. We attached it to the NDAA at the end of the year. Unfortunately, it got stripped out in the conference, which was a bit of a disappointment. But how is the Coast Guard using its assets, authorities, technology to combat IUU fishing? There was a big, I think, New York Times article just a couple weeks ago about these Chinese gray fleets in the hundreds and hundreds that fish in the high seas. They ravage the ocean. You know, countries in Africa and Latin America can't stop them. They are really aggressive. They're everything from a national security threat to a humanitarian crisis because they use slave labor. I mean, it's the worst of the worst, let alone destroying sustainable oceans and fisheries. My Fish Act is an aggressive response that would include the Coast Guard and even the U.S. Navy to go after these big gray fleets that are conducting IUU fishing. But you're already doing a lot of that. This bill would give you more authorities. But can you talk about some of the good work the Coast Guard's doing that and what a threat this is? Not just to sustainable fisheries and human rights, but it's a national security threat. The AFRICOM commander, 2 years in a row when I was at the Munich Security Conference, talked about IUU fishing as one of the top threats to AFRICOM and countries in Africa because of the Chinese just taking over the, fishing capabilities of small African countries and kind of treating them in a way that China does with most small countries like bullies. So how are you doing on that? What more authority do you need from us to combat IUU fishing, especially against the Chinese and Russians?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chairman, because countering IUU fishing is a top priority mission for the Coast Guard. It is about national security.
Yeah.
First, it's about controlling and securing our border and maritime approaches through our exclusive economic zone to protect our sovereign fisheries in those areas. But even beyond that, in the international space, reinforcing the international frameworks that prevent IUU fishing, because those impact our ability and our partner nations' ability to protect their own fish stocks and livelihood and this key protein source. So it is about national security. It's important for us in terms of authority and capability in two ways going forward. We need more ability to have maritime domain awareness, actually maritime domain dominance, so we can see what these IUU fishing fleets, these distant water fleets are up to, what they're doing. We can share that information with partners so we can be better at enforcement. And then we also need the at-sea cutter and air capability and other technology to be able to be effective in patrolling, deterring, and then enforcing not only U.S. law, but the international frameworks that prevent IUU fishing.
Good. That's great. Thank you for that. We'll continue to work on that, and hopefully I can get my bill passed and signed into law, which, again, had widespread bipartisan support on this committee, in the Senate, and now we just got to get it over the goal line, and it'll give you more authorities on a really important issue. Senator Cantwell.